Welcome to Saturday. We are going to talk about how long of an event you should carb load for. But first, why should you listen to us? I'm Dr. Alex Harrison, PhD in sport physiology and in-house carb nerd and sodium nerd. But we're talking about carbs today, so I'll be a carb nerd today. This is Michelle. She's a fast cyclist, sometimes very fast, and sometimes for very long. She has done the trenching challenge. It took her 21 hours, and if you don't know what the trenching challenge is, it's the Everesting challenge, but when Everesting isn't enough, and you get bored with that, and so you decide to make it the depth of the Mariana Trench, 36,000 feet of climbing in one ride. I think it took her 21 hours, something like that.
It's all about that descending.
423 miles in one ride. Yeah, I rode half of it with her.
423 miles? What?
423 kilometers.
I was going to say, no, it wasn't. I think it was like 270 something. I don't remember.
Oh, you're right. Only 270 miles.
Yeah, way different though.
Yeah, up and down Mount Lemmon for 21 hours. So, yeah, let's talk about, should you carb load for that? Should you carb load for something shorter?
Yes, so let's say I'm doing an hour crit. Do I carb load?
I would say yes, because I like carbs, but probably not going to help your performance a ton. Some, though. Some. A tiny bit.
What about, I don't know, an Olympic distance triathlon that's going to take me, depends on the race, but let's just say it's going to take a person 2 to 3 hours to do an Olympic distance.
Yes, that's when carb loading will make you your money, if you make money doing triathlons. And if you don't, it will still make your $12,000 bike purchase worth it.
So what about really long events, like 10-hour event? Would I want to carb load for that?
Yes, yeah, it is less effective. It's just as effective for loading your carbohydrates, loading the glycogen in your muscle cells, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the first video in this series. We talked about why to carb load and what the goals are. It gets less important for super long events like 10 hours plus, and even like 5 hours plus. Carb loading is less of a determining factor in your performance than something like intra-workout fueling. Matters a ton at 10 hours. You just can't store enough carbohydrate.
So it seems like there's a parabola forming here. So you're saying that like 90 minutes or shorter, not as important, and then like 4 hours or longer, not as important, and you're saying between like 90 minutes and 4 hours would be like super important to carb load? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. If you're going longer than 4 hours, an ever larger, ever increasing percentage of your race as you go longer, you're going to be relying on your glucose intake and your fructose intake, your sugar intake during the race, whereas as you go beyond 3 hours, you become ever more reliant on glucose coming into your blood from your gut rather than from your liver, because you're running out of muscle and liver glycogen stores.
So for very long events, exogenous carbohydrates are extremely important, whereas you can survive off of your stored glycogen for shorter events, like
Correct.
4 hours or less.
Yeah.
When deciding if we should carb load, what are some factors that we would think about? I mean, something that comes to mind is, do I care about this race or not? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you don't need to carb load for like your Wednesday night crit if you do something like that, or if you do like the monthly 5K or the monthly 10K or something in the summers. You don't need to be carb loading for all of your less important races, especially the shorter ones like that. But if you care about your performance and you're trying to optimize your performance, and it's like an A or even a B race, like a tune-up race for your big race, and it's in that sort of 90-minute to 4-hour window, definitely be carb loading.
Well, I don't know how long your Wednesday night race would be, but like a 5K probably, I mean, wouldn't fall within that 90-minute to 4-hour
Speak for yourself.
window. I mean, I don't know. I was just thinking, like, what if it was a weekly, like, 60-mile ride you do with your friends, but you don't really care that much? It's just like a typical, like, low aerobic ride you do, chatting it up the whole time, don't really care.
Great point.
Might not need, a
It
ton
depends
of carb.
on how much bragging rights are at stake. If you care a lot about your shop ride or performing well on the trails with your friends, you might carb load a little bit, but you probably need to watch your calorie balance as well, because to carb load well, you are absolutely going to go over normal daily calorie balance.
Okay, so then would body composition or like body composition goals play a role here in your deciding on whether you should carb load or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're looking to lose weight because you're trying to improve your health and you have weight to lose safely, healthily, I'm not talking to the folks that like are trying to lose that extra pound to get to race weight. I am not talking to you. You should absolutely be carb loading. But if you're 25 pounds from your race goal, or maybe you're 50 pounds or 100 pounds from what might be a healthy optimal weight for you, chances are you can hold back on carb loading as often and maybe just do it for your most important event of the year.
Okay, what about your your recent dietary patterns, like would that change your carb loading strategy at all?
Yeah, if you have been doing a good job fueling all of your training with carbohydrates, having pre-workout carbohydrates and post-workout carbohydrates around all of your exercise, and you generally eat like a moderately high carbohydrate diet, carbohydrate-rich diet, then you probably don't need to carb load as hard as somebody who might be more like me, where I might forget to eat for 12 hours because I'm coding an app or writing content for YouTube. Yeah, that person needs to carb load like it's their job, because their glycogen stores over the course of the training week or training cycle, month-long cycle, their glycogen stores have gone down, and you've got a lot of work to do to catch up.
Let's say that this person is using Saturday. Let's say that their setting is set to the satiety setting all of the time during their training, whole food setting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would need to think about carb loading more for their important race versus somebody who's like high octane fuel for performance all the time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, that's actually how I like manage my weight, is I usually have it on like the second lowest setting for between satiety and performance-based fueling. There's like 5 options to choose from. I usually have it on the second one or the lowest one. Yeah, you need to carb load more if you are not fueling your training as well as you could be.
So what about the people who maybe do a lot of shorter training sessions throughout the week? Like maybe they'll do like a 1-hour bike ride here, like a 45-minute run there. They maybe don't consume any fuel during their workouts throughout most of the week. What do those people need to think about?
Yeah, those people are super glycogen depleted. So if you are the person that like refuses to carry fuel on your run unless it's like at least 2 hours or more, you are very glycogen depleted, I promise, and you will need to carb load harder. And if you are the person that gives the advice at the bike shop group that you only need 1 bottle and you can like use the other bottle cage for like carrying tools because you never carry fuel, or maybe you carry a banana, you're the 1 banana guy or the 1 bottle guy, you know who you are. You're very glycogen depleted, and I can promise you a very bad performance at whatever race you're going to do unless you replete your glycogen with carb loading.
I would also say to the 1 bottle guy or the banana guy or lady that you've probably been training for a long time and you're probably, very fit. So that's awesome, but you can perform better if you start fueling with carbohydrates into workout and post-workout, even though maybe you haven't been for the last 20 years. So just something to keep in mind.
You're probably way better than you think.
Yeah, it would be probably shocking to see how much better you'd perform if you actually started fueling like a person who maybe isn't as fit as you or hasn't been training for as long as you. So if I want to maximize carbohydrate absorption during my race, and I want to be able to consume a lot of carbohydrates during my race and use those carbohydrates during my race and not feel sick, is there anything I need to think about during the carb loading period?
I guess maybe nothing specific. Sugars are obviously a great thing to help in your gut training, helping your gut feel more comfortable during racing, but it does increase the importance of carb loading. So if you are in the middle of trying to train your gut for either the race you're about to do, maybe there's an upcoming race a month from now and you're doing like a tune-up race or a warm-up race, a B race, and you're in the middle of a gut training period, that's one factor that should increase the focus you put on carb loading. That actually brings up that thinking about whether to carb load isn't necessarily like an on-off switch. It doesn't have to be like, I'm carb loading this race and I'm not carb loading this race, and therefore I'm having 600 grams of carbs a day for 3 days before this race and just normal carbs on these days. It can be like, I find carb loading somewhat important for this, so I'm going to slightly carb load, and maybe I'm going to have 100 extra grams of carbs 3 days before, and we'll get to all the details about exactly how to do it in an upcoming video in this series, but it's a continuum. So take into consideration the factors that we discussed about like why to carb load, and then apply it across that sort of parabola of races where it's less important for the very short things, less important for the very long races, and then super important for sort of that like 2 to 5 hour, 90-minute to 4-hour window. Yeah, if you all have any questions, please post them in the comments, or you can actually book sessions with me now on our website, saturdaymorning.fit. And one quick tip, if you are one of our app users, thank you. That's what makes these videos possible, literally. A quick tip for you is, as you approach a race that you're going to be carb loading, one of the best ways to get your carbs in for the day, as you'll find out it's a lot in an upcoming video, one of the best ways to get them in is move up the setting, your satiety setting, to like where it says performance or almost performance, or at least balanced. If you're down way low at like whole food satiety, like not performance focused, you're basically spending a lot of the time of the day when you could be packing in a ton of carbs, not packing in those carbs. That's your training time. So you can get more carbs during training if you bump that setting up.
And then circling back to the consults, what do you consult people on when they call typically?
I usually tell people anything physiologically related, sport related, I can usually answer, or I will know where to get the answer. And most people call me for is dialing in some nutrition plan, race nutrition plan, maybe helping balance how they fuel all of their training sessions with wanting to lose weight. I helped folks lose weight for almost 10 years, and yeah, now just do a lot of fueling talk.
Awesome. But you're open to
anything.
Training or anything else.
You can ask me how to squat, and I will tell you exactly how to do a back squat.
Well, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to our next video in our carb loading series, which will be
when you should carb load for your training rides and runs. Until next time.